All right. My first question is for you, Marnie. From your perspective, what are the biggest root causes behind the current staffing shortage in dentistry?
It's a great question. So, the first part of this is really, of course, it was very much accelerated during COVID-19 when, we had so many people exiting the workforce, right? Just because of childcare needs or because there was a lot of people who just felt like they didn't want to be in the environment anymore. However, it's more than that, right? COVID accelerated it, but the deeper cause, in my opinion, is chronic leadership and communication breakdowns in many practices. We have many dental team members that feel that they hit a ceiling, they want to be developed, they don't want to just be managed. So there's other things like toxic or unclear culture where values aren't lived out, communication is inconsistent, people disengage. And then, of course, wages haven't risen without parallel increases in leadership structure or culture. So pay alone can't necessarily fix it.
So you help owners translate those big ideas into daily actions. What's one small shift you have seen make a big difference when it comes to attracting high quality candidates?
Well, that's a great question. So, as goes the leadership team, goes the rest of your practice or your organization. So, when I work with teams, one of the first things that we do is we reset the foundation, which means what are your core values? What's your mission? And I kind of call that like the bottom of the house, right? That's the foundation of the house. Then we look at creating an accountability chart, which is different than an organizational chart. An accountability chart says, I'm Marnie, I'm a fractional chief operating officer, and these are the 5 things I'm responsible for. So I always love to say clear is kind, unclear is unkind. I love Brene Brown. And so when we look at living those core values and we shift them not just from something that lives on the wall, but we make them into behavioral core values, right? So it's helping those team members to live those core values every single day. And so when we have that kind of clarity, that is a retention tool in and of itself because people understand where the boundaries are, where their lanes are, and when you're clear, it is the kindest thing that you can do for people.
My next question to you is once the right people are hired, the next challenge is keeping them. What leadership practices have you found most successful in keeping team members engaged and, most importantly, loyal?
Great question. So leadership practices build loyalty, right? So as we've talked about, as goes the leadership team, goes the rest of the practice. So you have to have a leadership team that is meeting regularly that can really help everybody to row in the same direction. So we talked about clarity, right? People crave structure. My daughter, who's like 10 years old, loves structure, right? Kids love structure. Animals like my dogs, they love structure. People love structure, right? So clearly defined roles, accountability, and expectations, right? So don't tell me one thing and then turn around and then expect something different. That is a surefire way to not create psychological safety, as I'm sure Dr. M will talk about, right? So we have to be really clear in what we expect from people and kind of maintain that. I think that's really important. Connection. Connection is why we are here. And I think we really saw during the pandemic such a lack of connection. And I think there's been a resurgence that people are craving this. And so, how we create connection, one of my favorite tools is what I call a quarterly conversation. This is not a review, but it's a check in, right? So, and again, it's where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. Consistency, right? The biggest trust killer is inconsistency. So, like, you got to say what you'll do and you have to follow through on that. And then development is a huge piece of this too, as I talked about with mastery, right? Investing in growth, not just an output. So I really will just end on saying this. People don't quit their jobs. They quit uncertainty and disconnection. And so I think that's a really important thing to just remember that we have to just stay consistent.